What's up, guys? This is Stephen Yee, Family First Life SkyPoint Agency. Today we have special guest Omarh with the FFL Illuminate Group. Omarh sells a lot of insurance virtually, but not only that, he's very niche and he's gotten really good at selling insurance in the aged mortgage protection sector. And to tell you the truth, it's probably one of the most profitable sectors. It's where I started. It's where majority of our agents get started in. But I'm excited to be able to hear his story and be able to have him share with you guys. So, Omarh, are you there with us, brother?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be on the call with you, man.
Hey, I appreciate you hopping on and taking time out your day. But one of the things that I haven't got a chance to really meet you and know you in person yet. So, if you can do us all a favor, kind of share with us like your background, where you're from, what you've done, how did you end up a Family First Life, and all that great stuff.
Yeah, man. First off, just thanks for having me on. I've been watching you for quite some time, and I really respect what you do for the company, and yeah, man, really respect everything that you do. So, thanks again for having me on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, my name's Omarh. For sure, man. My name's Omarh Torrio. Been in the business now since 2009. Not with Family First Life. Started with a practice company, but I've been around. I've been around for a while. Was with that company for say about 2 to 3 years, and just ventured out into other things. I've been in sales my whole life. I've sold cars. I sold, insurance, obviously. I was in the banking industry at some point, really selling like checking accounts and credit cards. I have a pretty wide experience of, just selling different products. But yeah, I am also in real estate as well. So, I'm doing that on a part-time basis right now. Just working with newer agents there as well. Just training them up and showing them how to do, just the basics in the industry. But primarily right now, I'm just focused on life insurance and just seeing what I could do. Just focusing on the goal was to try to hit Hall of Fame this year, but we'll see how that goes. I'm pushing.
Oh, you're gonna crush it, bro. Trust me. Here's what I can tell you: when you make your Hall of Fame run, you're gonna probably do 40% of your volume in Q4. That's just the way it works. Like nobody ever goes.
That's what everyone says.
30, 30, 30,
right.
30 all the way through. It's kind of like 15, 20, 30, 30, 30, and then bam, you do like 50, 60, 70 overnight. That's just kind of how it works. But cool. So, I've had a chance to get to know Harold, who you work with directly. And y'all crush it, man, with this virtual sales stuff. And the nice part is, too, y'all do it on a lead that I find is the most profitable in the industry, in my opinion. Kind of share with us, man, like, when you just got started with us, you had background in another IMO, but you came over here and Harold's like, hey, this is where we're going to do it. Like, what was your initial thoughts on running age mortgage protection compared to running, I don't know, a fresher lead or whatever it may be?
Yeah, so before I really dove into mortgage protection, I did try all the other leads. I'm the type of person that before I really commit to something, I want to know what my options are. So I tried the internet lead, there were some, I didn't try really mortgage protection until I would say like July of last year. So, but my favorite thing about the mortgage protection and the reason that I feel like that's my niche at this point, it works for me and it works for a lot of other agents, is just the cost. The cost is low. There's not as many agents that are reaching out to those people as well. So a lot of times when I do get on the phone with one of them, and I'll ask like, when's the last time, or has anybody reached out to you about this? And a lot of times they're just like, no, which is surprising to me, because what that tells me is at some point they were new. Somebody tried to call them once, twice, and then just gave up, maybe bought more, bought more leads or whatever. And they just never circle back. Right. And then when you just flood yourself with leads and you don't circle back, those things kind of fall through the crack. And
absolutely,
by the time they get to us, it's a great opportunity because they were never taken care of. And a lot of times they still need it and still want it. So
I love that. Because here's the other crazy part though, right? Like a brand new mortgage lead is like 70, 80 bucks a lead.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, because some people get a flood load of them and they can't work them as thoroughly because their leads just come in automatically, they don't get a chance, like you said, to circle back, and you let some slip through the cracks. Matter of fact, a lot of us, because I ran a lot of mortgage protection leads when I was in the field too, you book the low-hanging fruit. You book the ones that are going to say yes right now, because you need your 30 appointments right now. Well, there's some people that are not ready right now. There's some people that are like, hey, man, I'm on vacation. Hey, man, I don't know what my bills look like yet. Whatever their excuse is. And we just don't ever get a hold of them ever again. It's not because, we're horrible people, but it's because our lead stack is growing so big on the other side. And so the reason why I'm such a big fan of age mortgage protection leads, especially for brand new agents, is there's so many people that slip through the cracks that we wish we can get a hold of ever again, right? And so what happens is, instead of buying this lead now at $60, $70, $80 a lead, you're getting them for, you know, 5, 7, 10. Right. And so, like, for me, I play basketball. My concept was real simple. I just needed more shots at the rim. Right. So, like, if you're running a brand new mortgage lead that's $80 and I'm running them for $5, I can get 16 leads for your one. And as bad or whatever it may be, I'm willing to bet, because I have more at bats than you or more shots at the rim than you, I'm going to sell naturally more than you. Right. And so kind of talk to us, like, so, you know, you crush it on the phone. You guys protect a lot of families, and that's all your guys' agency does. Like your group, Harold's group, you know, when you get on the phone with the client, let's say they schedule an appointment with you and you run the appointment, like, how do you open it up? How do you make it as, you know, like a smooth and simple process for them and put them at ease?
Yeah, well, really, like, initially into the call, I really want to make sure that, number one, I get their buy-in, right? With these clients, what I find is a lot of times they may have been bombarded, like early on, like I was saying, they may have gotten, you know, filled out a request. And I think sometimes they don't end up speaking with the agent because they maybe just be getting bombarded by a bunch of other people. I mean, if that's their behavior as a consumer, they probably filled out a bunch of forms. And then just that early blast of just like a bunch of phone calls might have been a turn off to them. So by the time I do get to them, I want to kind of refresh them what this is about, right? Because this was maybe anywhere from 2, sometimes 4 years ago. So
wow, y'all run leads up to 4 years old?
Man, for $1.50 or however much it costs, yeah, I'll run any lead.
Really? Right? That's cool, man.
When it comes down to it. So yeah, I mean, really just getting their buy-in initially. You know, one thing that I do is I just send them a text message of what they filled out. Just seeing something that they filled out, however long ago it was, is going to give me some credibility. Like, I feel like they're more open to hearing what I have to talk about, because I just sent them something. I just sent them a text message about something that they might have filled out. They see their handwriting, they take a quick look at it, and so, you know, they're kind of all ears by the time I get onto the phone with them. But that's pretty much it. Just one, getting that buy-in, going over everything on that form again. Just, it's aged, right? So when I'm getting on the phone with them, I'm asking them, hey, do you remember filling this out? Okay, originally when you fill this out, this was for the loan in the amount of, you know, X amount of dollars with X amount of company. Just getting the credibility really is how I kind of open that up. And just maintaining the posture that I'm calling them about something that they filled out, not so much as like I'm calling them to try to sell them something that, you know, they just have no idea about, you know?
Right. And see, like, having that information is so vital. And like new agents that don't know how to use that information, it hurts them, right? Because you now look like everybody else. But if I'm calling you and go, hey, Omarh, this is Steven. I'm calling from the mortgage protection office here in, you know, Alameda County. Looks like your loan at the time when you closed was $275,000. That's not possible in Alameda, but, you know, like $275,000 for, you know, with Bank of America. You go, yeah, that was me. That is me. But it ain't with B of A no more. You're like, got it. They sold your loan a few different times. I hate how they do that. But anyways, and you just go right back. Like, having that information is vital, because you can't just make it up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So after you verify that part, right, being able to open that, what do you do from that moment on?
Well, the next step, just like in the in-home, it's like the very next step is I'm asking if there's anybody else there with them. So I'll usually on these forms, we'll see if there's a co-borrower, right? So that's the next step. Just really making sure that I don't have any one-leggers on these calls. I don't want to go through this whole thing, especially if we're running like 15 appointments a day, which is the goal. I don't want to go through this whole thing and at the end just be like, oh, I need to talk to my spouse or what. So that'd be the next thing, really just verifying all the information, making sure that everybody that I need there is there for the call. And that's kind of when I lead into the next part, which is letting them know exactly what this is, how I got this, and why we're doing it this way, right? So it's an age lead. A lot of times they'll be like, well, somebody reached out to me already, or nobody ever reached out to me, or I already have coverage, right? So with the next thing that I try to do is just let them know exactly why I'm calling them. It's my job that, you know, I'm the underwriter. I was reassigned to the case. Basically just my job to see which programs you qualify for. And then I let them know we used to do this face-to-face, but mind you, these are like 2 years in some cases 3. But I let them know that we used to do this face-to-face, but, you know, prior to everything that happened, or because of everything that happened during, you know, 2020, which we all know what happened, they've made some switches, and now we're doing everything virtually and over the phone. So that right there kind of gives them the sense that this is normal. I mean, I guess everybody does this over the phone now. People buy their auto insurance over the phone, their homeowners insurance over the phone, and now we're doing everything with insurance over the phone. So just making it just like a normal thing, right? Nothing weird about it. And then from there, I just let them know that these are all the state regulated plans that you requested by filling out that form. And then I just remind them there's no medical exam needed, no blood work. I'm just going to go over a couple of health questionnaires with you today. So just really laying the foundation of what's going to happen on that call. So there's no surprises. Like they know exactly what's going to happen.
I love that. And the best part is, and I don't know if you're doing this on purpose. Like I'm listening to you talk and like your tone is here. Like I'm just doing my job. Yeah. I'm just doing my job. I ain't a customer service rep. Exactly. Like, Omarh, what's up, man? Hey, this is like that. Exactly. That you're creepy. And don't sound too depressed. Like, Omarh, hey, this is Steve. Like, don't do that. Like, you want to be right in the middle, which is really good. And that's what I'm saying. It's like you've done this for such a long time. The habits just come out, even though you're not even explaining it, right? You're like a state employee that's got to get this information out to you. We're having a conversation. So after you tell them, you set the table and you go, all right, man, hey, this is for this. This is what you filled out. Are the both of you guys there? If they are a husband and wife, and you go, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to collect the information, send it to the insurance company. How do you open up the presentation?
So from there, by that time, they know what I'm calling. They know why I'm calling. They know what I do. The next step there is just that extra layer of credibility. A lot of times, just early on in my career, because I used to only do in-field presentations. Like this is new to me. Like I've really only been going hard virtually for the past, I would say like maybe 8 or 9 months or something like that, right? So it was a transition for me as well. One of the biggest things that I found, or I had to learn the hard way, was just kind of like you said, just being even, right? Even keel. Like in the home, it's different. We're face to face. We're, I'm trying to show my personality. We're building rapport, right. But like over the phone, it's a transaction. It's transactional, right? They want to know what they're covered for. I want them to have confidence that I know what I'm doing. I'm not just, like you said, hey, like that's kind of a turnoff, and that's kind of like a wall up front. They've never seen me, they've never spoke to me, they don't know anything about me. So if you come off like that over the phone, I think it'll cause somebody to put their guards up naturally, right? So just by maintaining that even keel and not so much monotone, because I do every now and then into the presentation. I'm a real person, they're a real person. I might sprinkle some of that in there, but ultimately I want to kind of maintain that position of I'm here to do a job for you. Let's get these questions answered. I'll let you know what you qualify for at the end. If it makes sense, we do it. If not, at least you get the information. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the next layer, to answer your question, the next layer is I send them a text message, which has a link to, we call it our underwriter page. So there's going to be a picture there of my state. You'll see my face as soon as they click on it. They'll also see like a photo of my family. I'm a real guy. I have a family. Right. From there, they get to see all the states I'm licensed in, how long I've been doing it. I think there's even a link there to like federal background check, everything that they need to know, right? Just trying to preempt I'm not comfortable doing this over the phone, or which are the things that you're going to get. If you're doing complete virtual, like you're going to run into that early on, you're going to run into it. And even as a seasoned agent, you're going to run into that, So if I could preempt that early on, make sure that they actually click it, because once I send it, the next step is for them to actually click it, right? So I'll ask them like, hey, before we get started, for compliance reasons for the state of California, I want to make sure that you receive that underwriter page that I sent you. So that is usually something that I text maybe like 10 minutes prior to the call, right? Just kind of warming it up. I'll send it over to them. Hey, what's this? Click on it, boom. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But before I move on to anything else, I want to make sure that they click on that link so that they can't hit me with the, later on well, I'm not sure who you are, or how do I know this is legit or what? Because hopefully they would have done what they needed to do, as they should, right? Their due diligence of knowing that they're on the phone with an actual licensed rep. So that's the next step for me.
See, that's a big one, because like it doesn't matter what you do in virtual sales. Like some people use a digital business card, some people call it an underwriting page, right? Some people call it a verified producer page, some people have an agent validation page. It's like send them something that makes you look real, right? And once they go, man, okay, this, like they can put face to voice. That's a big deal for a lot of people. Because they like you said, they don't know who you are compared to the next person that's calling from India. I don't know. You know what I mean? So like the fact that they go, okay, cool. This is Omarh. This is who I'm talking to. Here's a list of your state licenses and all that stuff. They go, perfect. Like this guy is real. And so that's why for me, it's like a lot of new agents that are doing virtual sales, like having something like that is a big deal, because you can establish, like you said, credibility. I think as you get better in the industry, like, you know, you don't need it as much as a brand new agent, but a brand new agent's usually scared of credit. Like they don't know, you know, their confidence ain't as high as like yours or mine. So they make up for that with credibility, which is a good thing. Cause I did it when I was brand new too. Right. And so like in every brand, like when I was face to face, every home, here's my badge, here's my state license. We're just doing the same thing now, you know, on a text message with a link on it, right? Which is brilliant. So cool. So they see your page, whether they go through it or not. What's after that?
So the next step is really just setting the roadmap or like the intro for how this call is going to go. Because I I find that newer agents who don't do a good job at this part, the client doesn't really know what's going on, so they're a little bit more apprehensive of what's coming up next, right? So I feel like once you do a good job of letting them know how that call is going to go, so I would call it the intro, right? So basically, I'll let them know how it works. I'm an underwriter. There's a lot of different companies that we work with. Um, they're all state regulated, and my job is basically just to handle all the underwriting with you. And if something makes sense, I'll help you to submit the application, right? Um, and then from there, I let them know we're going to do there's a health pre-qualification questionnaire that we're going to go over, make sure that we can get you qualified for these carriers. And then from there, I'm going to ask you some finance questions, right? One thing I let them know is this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So the situation might have changed. You might have already gotten it taken care of, or you may no longer need it. You may no longer own that house. So really just giving them the sense that we are really doing a job here to make sure that this is something that they still need. So it kind of relieves that pressure of like, oh, he's trying to sell me. It's more so of an analysis to make sure that you still need this, right? So health questionnaire, let them know we're doing that, letting them know we're going to do the finance questionnaire. And then most importantly, I'll let them know, again, this was a few years ago. Your budget may have been different back then than it is now. So the next part of that finance questionnaire is to really just go into the budget. So it'll help me to better understand exactly what it is that you might qualify for based on affordability and then obviously health, right? And then the last thing that I tell them is if we do find something that makes sense, my job as the underwriter is to help you to submit these, the request for coverage to the carrier. And typically it takes 1 to 5 days for them to get back with a decision. And if you are approved, it may take up to 2 weeks for you to get your policy. So at the end of that, they're pretty comfortable. They know what we're going to do. They know we're going to go over the health questionnaire. So it's not just like weird transition into like from sending them the page. So just like jumping right into health. I like to let them know what I'm going to do before I do it, so that the wall is down. They know why I'm doing it because I explained it, and they're just more open to giving me everything that I need because I'm trying to help them get approved for the coverage through the carriers that they may qualify for. So that's the next step for me is the intro / roadmap.
I love that. What's cool? Like you guys call it the roadmap. We call it setting the table, but it's the same thing. And what it basically means is, hey, this is what we're going to do today. Right. And like, exactly. Like I was doing this when I was shooting the boot camp. I was literally saying the reason why most people don't make sales, regardless if you're face-to-face or virtual, is because you're not telling the client what you're going to do. Like, exactly. We're going to do this. And then if you like it, we're going to submit an app. Most people are so scared to say that by the time they get to the buying questions and the client goes, yeah, I like this. They're like, well, you got to submit an app. They're like, well, you never told me I needed to submit an app. You know what I mean? But in the process of what you're talking about and what we've been teaching for such a long time is if we tell you that you're going to submit an app, and if you like what you hear, if you don't, whatever, we're done, right? But like you have to tell your clients what you're going to do, because if not, they're going to be blindsided, So, right. Okay, so after you guys do your roadmap, what's next? Like, are you going right into financial inventory? What's after that?
So for me, something that's, I would even say this is one of the most important parts of this, aside from obviously the health questionnaire and finances. The golden question is what I call it. So it's once we find a policy that fits your budget, accomplishes everything that you need, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to see if you can be approved? Period. Right. One thing before that though is these are aged again, like I said. So a lot of times they don't even remember why they filled it out. They don't really even remember what it covers, right? So I'll ask them before I get to the golden question. I'll just say something like, "So hey, Stephen, most people that fill out this form obviously do so to protect the mortgage, whether that be make the mortgage payments in the event of the death of a spouse. Some people, if they qualify, may want to pay the home off for the spouse or for the kids. Just so I have a better idea, what exactly was the reason that you filled it out, right?" And all the time, every time they're going to say, oh, I filled it out for this, or oh, I filled it out for that. So it's like, I'm kind of reminding them why they filled it out. They're telling me why they filled it out. And then as soon as I get that portion of it, that's when I go into the golden question. Because then it's like, oh, okay, great. So you filled it out to make sure that your spouse would have mortgage payments, or you filled it out so that your spouse could pay the home off. Okay, sounds good. So let me ask you this, Stephen. If we do find a policy today that fits your budget, accomplishes everything you need, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to see if you can be approved? Most of the time, like, no. I mean, if it's affordable, right?
Right.
Which is always the case. If it's affordable, and obviously if they've already told me why they wanted to do it, so the value is there. So it's always if it's affordable. But sometimes they're just like, they'll tell me no sometimes, right? And then, again, the whole thing with this is just, I want to keep the walls low. I don't want them to be on guard. So all good. If they tell me no, the next thing is, if we can't find anything that fits your budget, totally fine, no big deal. Really just want to make sure that we can help you if there's any way we can.
Right.
Again, that's to make sure that the walls are still, they're going to let me say what I need to say, and they're going to be in good spirits about it, because they don't feel like at the end I'm going to hard close, or I'm going to pressure them. It's like, hey, I'm just doing my job. I want to give you everything that you requested. It was a long time ago, so I'm going to go down this list of questions to make sure that this is still relevant. If it is, we'll put the app in. And again, that golden question is super important.
I love it. You're basically get them to agree with you, like that we're going to submit something today. You're basically trial closing them right then and there. Like, hey, we're going to do this. Because if not, see, people ask all the time, Omarh, they go, man, like, you're really blunt and direct. Yeah, I also don't want to waste 45 minutes going through all this. Right. And then they go, I wasn't going to submit an app anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think with the golden question too, if they say yes there, which we'll probably get to the pitch in a second here, but that holds so much weight in the pitch, because by the time you get to showing them their options, it's not like which one works. It's not like, do you want this or not? It's which one works for you.
Right.
Because you've already told me yes. We know what's in the budget based on this, if we did the financial analysis, right? So it's just a matter of which option works best at that point. So
I love it, man. So, okay, after you do that, what's next? After your golden question, you're establishing the why, right? So you're establishing why you need to be there. This is what I always tell people.
Right.
Now what? Now what are you doing in your process?
So from there, I go a little bit deeper into just some discovery about the spouse or whoever it is that's going to be taking care of the property. I'll ask questions like, in the event of the passing, I mean, I know you said you wanted the home paid off. Now, who exactly would be, the beneficiary for that? Is it going to be your spouse? Because sometimes with a husband and wife, they may just want the kid to be the primary or whatever. So I just dig a little bit deeper there, just try to discover more about who the beneficiary is. And then from there, that's when I kind of lead into the health questionnaire. So, I'm going into the health questionnaire, the finance questionnaire, and I spend a lot of time here because ultimately I really want to know their full situation, because it's an analysis, right? I'm not going to sit here and show you something that you don't qualify for, right? That's not serving them, and it's not serving, it's not serving the clients. I just wouldn't be doing a good job in my business if I was doing that, overpricing and putting people into policies that they may not qualify for. So the health questionnaire is the first thing that I dive into, really wanting to know everything about the health, right? Any current medical conditions, past medical conditions. And that's really important, because a lot of times with newer agents, they'll ask what the current conditions are, and totally leave out some things that may still show up on the MIB that might bite them later on with a decline. And they're just like, well, they're totally healthy now, but something that might have happened years ago that they just left out. So just the current health, past health. I'm asking, the current height and weight, obviously, just making sure everything is up to date, because these are aged. Some people started smoking, some people stopped smoking. So really making sure that when I'm going down that list of questions, that I'm thorough, right? Now from there, I'm already building a picture in my mind of what they might qualify for. I'm not saying anything about it, but saying helping me to build a picture by the end of what I'm going to be pitching to the client. One thing that I see with newer agents, questions, and then by the time it's time to pitch, they'll put the client on hold for like this weird, awkward couple minutes or something. They'll just put them on hold and then take that information and then transfer it to whatever. You really want to get to the point where you're in real time. We use insurance toolkits. I don't know if your team uses insurance toolkits. But yeah, I mean, just getting to the point where you've done it enough times, or you've done enough reps or practiced it enough to where when you're getting these questions, you're putting it in at the very same time, so that there's no awkward 2 minute, 3 minute time where they got to put the client on mute to pull up quotes, right? So there's that. And then the very next step is just transitioning into the medical questionnaire, right? So just touching on the transition, right? I think with newer agents, getting into the different parts of whatever part of the script you're in, the transition makes it so much smoother. So I'm always explaining again what I'm doing, right? So before I even get into the health questionnaire, I'm just gonna, I'll kind of let them know. Okay, like I said earlier, the first thing we're gonna do is get into the health questionnaire. Do the health questionnaire. All right, Stephen. So now that we got a pretty good clear picture of your health, like I mentioned earlier, we want to go over some finance questions with you. Make sure that this is still something that's relevant, and then I go into it. So the transition in between each part of the script makes for a smoother presentation with the client. And then from there, yeah, it's the finance questionnaire, right? So really just diving into, are you working? Are you not working? Getting a picture of what the income looks like. One thing that I do that I feel like has served me well is if I'm sitting with a husband and wife, I ask how much income they make, but I separate it, right? So I may ask Stephen, hey, Stephen, what would you say is your monthly income take home? And then I would ask the wife, hey, Missy, what would you say is your monthly income? And just so I can get a clear picture of who's really bringing in the money, but then also it kind of puts it into perspective with them. Like they know this already, but if they see that one spouse makes 6,000 and one makes 1,000, it's not going to be good if one of them passes away. So it kind of brings that up to the forefront of the conversation when we're going over these types of things. And then another thing too is just diving into what kind of insurance that they have, because some of these age leads, I don't know why, but they'll tell me that they haven't spoke to anybody. But when I get to this part of the conversation, they're like, you know what, actually, I spoke with somebody. I think we have mutual of Omaha, or something like that. Oh, I think we did do this, because it's been so many years. So really making sure, without like going over every single question, just knowing how much they make, asking them how much they have left over after all bills and expenses, so we know kind of what range we have to play with as far as pitching them something that makes sense, right? And it's affordable. And then really taking your time with what kind of insurance they already have, because sometimes you have a nice replacement opportunity. Maybe if we could find them something better. Those are the stickiest deals and the biggest checks, right? Because you're finding them something that's better. They're already paying for it. And we're improving their position. So they actually like you more because you're helping them either save money or getting them more coverage. So some of the biggest checks I ever get is after uncovering what kind of coverage they already have. So that's pretty much the next step, man. Health, and then the finance questionnaire.
I love
really taking your time. Mm-hmm.
But see, the other thing, like you just mentioned it, right? Like a lot of the clients that I sold a lot of insurance to, they already had policies. Like most people get weirded out by that. And I'm like, no, like the reason why it's easier to sell those people insurance, they already pay for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Compared to having someone that's never bought anything, take on another expense, if you even want to call it that, or a bill. Like people that already have insurance, I go, yeah, dude, but what I have is 5 times better than what you have currently. They just spend the same money and get better coverage. And so, that once I understood that concept, like sales went through the roof. You know what I mean? So got it. You do the financial inventory, you quote them all through insurance toolkits, and you have your underwriting through that. Like how many options are you providing people when you're about to close them?
So I usually do 3.
Okay.
I usually do 3. And I've tried the pitch many different ways. Option 1, 2, 3, option A, B, C, option, I really I would say over the past 4 or 5 months, I've been trying the gold, silver, and bronze.
Yep.
For some reason, just the gold, the silver, the bronze, it really sticks. I don't know. It resonates with them. Gold is gold, right? Silver, it's good. It's not gold, but and obviously it's based on affordability. So that's pretty much. I'm showing 3 options: highest option, middle level, and then something that's going to be more affordable for them, based on what we uncover in the financials.
So you do 3 options.
Mm-hmm.
If you break it down to percentages, how many people choose the top one, middle one, cheapest one?
Most people are going to go with silver.
Like when you say
The
most, like
middle one.
60, 80.
I would say maybe 60% of people are going to go with the silver option.
Okay.
It's just, it is what it is. I mean, it's not the lowest, it's not the highest.
Right.
In most cases, if we're doing mortgage protection, I'm showing 100% to cover. If we're doing a payoff, I'm showing 100%, 75%, 50% payoff. If we're doing payment protection, I'm showing 3 years, 2 years, 1 year.
Right.
Right. So that most people go with the middle option 60% of the time.
Okay.
You know,
And then what's after that?
after what? Oh, after
After the
showing up
second
20
op,
after.
like after the silver, is it bronze? Is it gold? Like
Yeah,
what's
it's
your
gold.
percentages?
So it's gold, silver, bronze. So it's 100% payoff, 75% payoff, 50% payoff
Right.
being bronze.
But what I'm saying is like you have 60% of your clients choosing the middle option.
Oh yeah, gold.
So so after silver, it's gold.
A lot of people go gold.
Really?
Yeah, after that, yeah. Um, Most cases. I mean, it's very rare that I do a deal for a client in a bronze package.
Okay.
A lot of the times here's the thing with my gold package. It's such a it's a big premium, right? And a lot of times, as much as I want to close a client then and there, help them then and there, a lot of times a $300 or $400 or $500 payment I mean, I rebuttal, but a lot of times they may need a day or two. So a lot of my gold options, those are like 2 day later follow-ups,
Right.
next day later follow-ups. I don't just give up at the end if they don't do it then and there. But I try not to pressure them to the point where they're just completely turned off to where I might miss out on that gold, right?
Right.
So yeah, most of my gold options are like 1 or 2 day later follow-ups. What I'm experiencing. Yeah. And then the bronze for me, it's like a lot of times with the bronze, it's somebody that's leaning towards silver, but it's a matter of affordability.
Right.
Right. Not a matter of affordability because by that time I know what I already know what they bring in. And I'm quoting them within that range. But just because they have that expendable income doesn't mean that's what they want to spend, right? So the bronze option for me, a lot of times, I would say maybe like 10% of the people go with the bronze. But the play there for me is it is always better to have something than nothing,
Right.
right? Bronze is going to cover you for 2 years. I know, I'm sorry, silver will cover you for 2 years. Gold covers you for 3. Obviously, if you could, in a perfect world, you would get one of those. But it's always better to have something than nothing. So usually the bronze is something that I'm recommending. It's like, silver, I know you're kind of leaning towards silver, but why don't we do this? It's better to have something than nothing. Let's get you set up with the bronze package. At least you'll have 1 year of coverage. And I usually follow up with my clients at least once a year. We'll revisit it, right? If anything happens from now until then, you're covered. But outside of that, a year from now, once you're used to that payment, things may change. You may get a raise. You may, a lot of things can happen in a year. We'll revisit it, and if the gold or the silver or the gold makes sense, then we could definitely pivot and cover that gap when that time comes.
Right.
And then a lot of times, it makes sense because it is better to have something than nothing in most cases. If they have nothing,
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So they select the second option. How do you transition them to the application? What are you saying? What are your word tracks? What are those like?
It's actually as soon as so when I'm pitching these options, like I just go through it, right? So, I let them know, hey, all right, Steven. So now we got a pretty good idea of what you're qualified for. I'm going to go over these options with you. Do me a favor, go ahead and grab a pen and a paper if you haven't already. Boom, they go grab the pen and paper. So I let them know, option, the gold option is going to cover 100% of your mortgage, with a monthly premium of $200, right? Silver option is going to cover 75% of your mortgage paid off for a monthly premium of $150. And the last option, which is the bronze option, will cover 50% of the payoff in the event of a passing for $100 under premium. And then from there, I kind of remind them, like I said earlier, I'm just the initial underwriter. I don't get the official approvals. The company, and then I'll kind of lead into like the company, Mutual of Omaha, been around forever, great company. They're the ones that will make the decision ultimately if you're approved or not. But if I did get you approved with them, which option would make the most sense for you?
Second
That's
one.
kind of like my close, right?
Right.
And then from there, as soon as they tell me we like we like the silver option work. All right, sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and get that application started here. Just give me a few minutes while I pull up and then I just like lead into it. Like there's no hesitation. They've told me exactly what they want, and that's it, right? Just like business as usual. They tell me what they want. I pull up the app, and we just kind of lead into it. Like, start asking the questions. At that point, by the time we get to that point, I kind of loosen up a little bit on the call
Right.
because there really isn't too much of a script outside of that. At that point, it's just you, the client. You're doing the application. You're obviously asking them questions, but there is some like time in between where you're pulling it up where that'd be a good time to kind of build a little bit more rapport and get to know your client a little better. You know, whether that's like, oh, how's the weather out there? Oh yeah, I'm in
Right.
California. You know, just really leveling with them so that they're more comfortable because you're about to start asking them for like their, private information. So
Right.
that's around the time I kind of loosen up with the client. That's
What do
it,
you
man.
do with the clients that go, oh, I gotta think about it. Omar,
Yeah.
I like what you're telling me, but I need to talk to my kids, or I got to talk to my, whatever. Right. Like,
Yeah.
how do you overcome objections at that point?
Yeah. So with objections, by the time I even get to the point, if I get through a pitch, I would say 7 out of 10 people at that point are going to go for it. So it's very rare in these cases that I do get that because I don't know if it's the type of lead or what, but I get way less rebuttals with the mortgage protection than I do with like
Absolutely.
internet. And they know what it is. They filled it out. They still need the protection. We should be within range of their budget. So a lot of times it's just ABC or gold, silver, bronze, right? But when I do get a rebuttal like that, I'm pretty straightforward when I rebuttal. I'm just like, okay, Stephen, no, absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Is this something that you needed to think about doing or not doing, or which option you wanted to go with? Right? Did you want this or not want this, or are you just not sure which option you want? That's the way that I go with the think about it. Um, a lot of times it's like it can all make sense, but if they just don't want to do it, like I'm not going to waste their time. I'm not.
Right.
I don't want to circle back on them and hound them, and you know if they don't want to do it. And sometimes I'll just let you know, like I mean, it makes sense, but just honestly, I just don't really want. I'm not really interested or whatever, right? Um, but a lot of times we're just not sure which option, right? So with that, I try to I dig a little bit deeper. Was it out of the 3 options, which one were you leaning towards? And then
Right.
we'll kind of go into that. And then again, the play becomes with that. Okay, well, obviously you like this, but if this is as far as pricing goes, uh, if it's a little more than you'd like to put out, I know how much value. I mean, I know how important this coverage is for you and your family. Why don't we just go with this? I'll go into that play with that type of a rebuttal, but that's really what I see with that. Think about it. It's either they want to do it, they don't, or they just don't know which option they want to choose. So that's my rebuttal for that.
Got it. Now, when you get in the app, right, and you get to the social or the banking, because those are like the two most challenging, objections for like most
Yeah.
brand new agents to overcome when they're doing virtual sales. What
Yeah.
is your rebuttal for social or banking?
So for the Social Security, I mean, it happens to everybody, but I don't get it as much. I think it really just depends on how you ask it. I guess if you just like,
Oh,
you know, a lot of times that social question is in the very beginning, right? So what I usually do before I even ask for the social, I'm filling out, in some cases on some apps, you got some beneficiary information in there. I'm
right.
filling out some address. So I'm filling out as much as I can just to get them into the groove of answering the questions that I'm putting onto the app. So by the time I get to that social, I pretty much just say, okay, sounds good. All right, Stephen, and for medical information purposes here, what was your social? And in most cases, they know what we're doing. Like
Right.
they'll give it to you. But in the rare case that they don't, I mean, ultimately, I just let them know exactly what it is, right? The company obviously needs to verify that everything that I put on this application matches with the medical information in your records. So which is why there's no medical exam needed. There's no physical needed. You know, as long as everything matches with the medical information bureau that we list here on the app, then we're good to go. So it's a form of verification, authentication, but also it's going to be it's convenience so that you don't have to do, all these exams and all this stuff with any, you know, urine samples or blood samples or anything like that. So that's kind of like how I handle that when I do come about it. But then you'll have those people that just won't give it to you, and you just can't win with those. You can't win with everybody. You just gotta kind of, roll with the punches with that.
That's the thing, right? Like with certain objections, like by the way, like even Steve Giordano doesn't sell everybody. You know what I mean? Like there's certain people, like, yeah, we can increase your ability to get the social banking, but you're not going to win them all. You know what I mean? Like not everybody you do a presentation on is going to buy insurance from you. And it's okay. Like you got to be able to deal with that. Right.
Right.
That's what I always tell people is like, you have agents that go like, man, like I didn't get the social on that one. I'm like, cool. I probably wouldn't have gotten it either. I don't know. Maybe like the way you're explaining it, I probably wouldn't have gotten it either. It's okay. Like move on to the next one. It's when agents get like so tight with one client, like, see, that's the reason why I want to have a full pipeline. That's the reason why I want to have 30, 40 appointments on the calendar, because I ain't got to worry about one client.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if one deal falls off, whoop-de-doo, like I got, 29 other clients to see right now.
Right.
Right. And so that's the reason why you work a full load schedule. But cool. So let's say you get through the entire application, the client gets approved. What's next?
Basically just cementing, right? I'm thinking long term with the business. Like I want to wake up one day and nothing wrong with leads, nothing wrong with. I want to just wake up one day and have a pipeline full of people that I'm following up with.
Right.
Policy owner service. At my practice company, that's all I used to do. It's policy owner service, right? So making sure that they're aware of what they're covered with, refreshing them, just kind of like reselling them again, that, once a year to make sure that stays on the books.
Right.
And then also uncovering any additional opportunities. Like a year ago, their whole situation may have changed. They may need more coverage. They may have had a kid. So really cementing is something that I do spend a lot of time on. So at that point, basically, I'm just telling them like, okay, what's going to happen? Same thing, right? So, okay, great. We're all set. It looks like you were approved. Congratulations, Stephen. One thing that I do want to remind you, like I said earlier, I'm not just your underwriter today. I'm your underwriter. I'm your agent for life. So, I've been doing this for 13 years. I have clients, all over the States, and I'm happy to be able to serve you and your family, like I said, for many years to come. A couple of things that you should expect. Number one, you're going to get that policy that we just set up for you. You should get it in the mail in anywhere from 7 to 10 days. If you don't get it, make sure you give me a call, and then I'll look into it for you. Make sure that you receive that. Second is, I want you to let your beneficiaries know that I'm going to just reach out. I'm going to send them a text, introducing myself, because ultimately they're the ones that's going to make the claim. So I want to make sure that they have my information just saved in their phone, so that if, when that day comes, hopefully no time soon, they know exactly who to call. I have everything in my notes here. I'll know exactly what to do. Right. So it's also some like referral opportunities there.
Right.
And then from there, like I said, I just let them know. So the number that I use isn't my main phone. So all of my clients have a phone, which is pretty much like the same phone my mom calls me on.
Right.
So I'll let them know, like, now that you're my client, I want to make sure that I'm easily accessible to you, whether I'm in the office, out the office. I want you to write this down. And then I give them my number. And then it's just more personable. Like I said, and I'll tell them like, hey, Stephen, this is, now that you're my client, I like to consider, us, you a friend, but not only a friend, a client. So if there's anything you need, or if you know anybody that needs some insurance, or could benefit from something like this that we went over, feel free to give them my number. But please do save my number, so that, if anything comes up, you can call me at any time.
Absolutely.
And then from there, I just let them know you'll get a call from me once a year. If you need anything, give me a call. Otherwise, have a great day.
Simple.
Good meeting you. Yeah, pretty much.
See, that's the best part, man. Like, by the way, I'm watching you do this. You're glancing over to your like left. I'm assuming you have like a structural piece of your telesales script or whatever it is, right? See, like that's what brand new agents don't understand. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter how good you are. It's nice to have that up as like a security blanket. Like if I ever get tripped up or whatever it is, I can just go back and make sure I'm dotting all the I's and crossing the T's. It's not that you're going to read it word for word per se, but it's just nice to have that there.
Right.
And so like that's the reason why like last week's call we did was like the 8 steps to a successful sales presentation. Like that for me is like that's the reason why I'm listening to you go through it. I'm like, dude, those are my 8 steps. Whatever you want to call it is different. You call it a roadmap. I call it setting the table. You call it, the golden question. I call it, financial inventory, establishing the why. It's the same stuff.
Right.
Like what we're doing is not different as an entire company. It's just that people got to do it now. Right. And so I love that, man. I want to ask you a few more follow-up questions before we open it up for Q&A. How many non-resident licenses do you carry?
20.
20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many time zones do you work? Do you just go, hey, I work primarily in this state, or do you go, dude, give it to me in all states? I really don't care.
As of right now, I work East Coast. So I'm in the West.
All right.
So I work the East Coast for the simple reason of I'm a full-time parent. Like I got 2 kids, they're in sports. I want to be at as many games as that I can be at. Right.
Absolutely.
I want to be a present father. As much as I want to build this business, it's God family business for me. Right. So I try to structure my day based on kind of what's going on. Like I know before I even start my week exactly what's going on. All my non-negotiables are there. And then I build around that. Right. So I work East Coast because I could be up at 5 a.m.
Yep.
By the time anybody wakes up in my house, I've already helped 2 or 3 clients.
Right.
Right. And then I do the morning routine and then I come back. And then I just run it. And usually I'm done. If I'm only doing East Coast, I'm done by like 4 or 5.
Right.
And that's kind of how I'm structuring right now. Going back on what you said, right? We're talking about Q4 and like Hall of Fame and doing that race. Like I might juice it to get some more maybe Central or West Coast because depending on where I'm at, I'm gonna have to work past the 5 and all the way into the evening. And I've even thought about Hawaii, dude. It's insane. I've even thought about getting some Hawaii leads, bro. I just came from there. That's why I'm so dark. I just came from Hawaii. But yeah, man, it's just good also to have so many different territories because lead flow does. I mean, when you're working age mortgage, it takes a while before the next batch comes, right? Because we're in 2023 and 3 years from now, these will be aged, right? So it's just never ending with the age leads as well, because as the time goes on, there's more, there's just more people to see because they're aged and they just kind of fall into that mix. So yeah, having multiple licenses is a must. It's a must.
I love that.
Different time zones.
So how many appointments do you run in a week usually?
So per week, when I try to do at least 15 appointments, 10 to 15 a day. So I'll probably book anywhere from maybe 50 to 60 appointments a week.
Okay. So yeah, 50 to, and that usually yields to about 10 families helped a week.
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah. I would say if I'm having that type of a schedule, I would say 10 families would be like a minimum with that type of a schedule.
Right.
And it's nothing like out of the ordinary, like with the type of system that we're working right now. Having those kind of appointments, I mean, it's a lot of work to get them to get them booked. But yeah, 10. I mean, there are people that are doing 10, 15, 20, 30, and like new agents. So there's just a lot of success that's happening with these age mortgage, and I think a lot of it is too just everybody's buying into it. The mindset has shifted. People are seeing everybody around them winning. So it's like, why can't I do this?
Right.
So yeah.
I love that. Now, how many leads do you need for you to actually have 40, 50, 60 appointments in your calendar?
So I usually do maybe about 400 a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So about 125. So about 125 a day, 3 to 4 days a week.
Got it.
Is what I try to roll with. And I find that keeps me pretty stacked.
Absolutely.
And that's the name of the game, right? Like that's the name of the game. The more appointments you have, if you're a newer agent, that's the best thing that you can do is just stack yourself, flood yourself with appointments. You won't even have time to think about anything other than like, because I think a lot of times when you don't have many appointments, you're in your head in between those appointments. Like it's a really stressful thing. So I'd rather have the stress of like, dang, I got 3 appointments this hour versus I have 1 appointment in 3 hours. Like that's the biggest thing for me. Just getting in front of as many people as you can. failing quick, learning quick. And then from there, you kind of just get into your groove. Like all of your systems will refine, not just like your presentation, but like how you run your schedule, how you sprinkle on top of that, if you're writing that kind of business, how you maintain the business that you write.
Right.
So just a lot of, the more appointments, the better, period.
I love it.
Right.
And see, that's the other thing. Like I learned that when I was brand new, right? Like I'd rather have too many leads and be obligated to run business than to want to run business and I need to make money to pay the mortgage, feed the family and all that and have no leads to run because I ain't got no damn appointments. Right. And then so like that, I'd rather double up and load up on that side than anything else. So dude, as we wrap up, and once again, Omarh, I appreciate you, man. But someone just asked the question and I want to by the way, it's a good question, Alan. I'm just, what I've learned in the last few months doing this virtual game is like, it's so fascinating because like everybody, like, I'm being on the hot seat for this one. Dude, if you do this right, you don't have to burn out. Right? Like some people think because I do virtual sales, I got to do 10, 12, 14 hours a day. No, you don't. Like you just heard Omarh say he's done by like 4 or 5. Why? Because he's a parent and he wants to be able to raise his kids. Absolutely. See, the problem with our industry sometimes is they glorify working 15 hours a day as the only way to work. And that's not true. You can work 8 hours a day effectively. And that's way more important than someone that works it sporadically throughout 15. Does that make sense, Omarh? Like when I was coaching basketball, right? My best player every year would never be in the gym for more than 20 to 30 minutes after. You want to know why? I don't want him to burn out. So instead, he has a 25, 30-minute workout with me that is way more effective than the kids that stay in the gym for 2 hours. And you go, but it's 2 hours. Yeah, but he's in the gym for 2 hours, lollygagging, messing around, shooting half court. That ain't work. In the 20, 30 minutes he's going to work with me, he's going to break a sweat. He's going to work on game shots. And by the time it translates to the game, he ain't tired because he's only doing it for 30 minutes. Right. And so I say that because like so many people think like one call closes is the only way you can do this business, especially if you're virtual. And that's not true. Like my wife protects 20, 30 families a month. A lot of the agents that we're working with in my close, tight-knit groups, they're doing the same. And we're not doing one call closes. You don't have to. It's not the only way. Right. And so like, obviously you guys, your group, the Eliminate group with Harold and everybody, like you guys have a very special system going on. Dude, like I ain't going to sit here and pretend I'm not dialing the damn phone for 12 hours a day. I'll hire someone in the Philippines or whatever it is to book my damn schedule for me, kind of like you guys do, 10, 12 appointments a day. And I just show up and sell. I can do that every single day of the week. You know what I mean? And so like for me, that's why I'm saying like don't glorify, burning out. Right. Glorify the fact that like I'm working smart, my premiums are done, I'm still able to take care of my family, and life is good. Life is good, man. And so like
that's the bigger flex.
Absolutely.
Bigger flex. Like who wants to be burnt out? You know what I mean? But like you said earlier, dude, that guy in the gym for 2 hours versus the one who's in for however shorter time, it's what are you doing in that time?
Absolutely.
Right. Like, and that's just the bottom line, dude.
I love it, man. So, dude, I'm excited for you to continue to watch you grow and succeed, man. And I'm excited to be able to watch you get your red jacket. I'm already assuming it. You know what I mean?
I'm on the vacation hangover. I'm snapping back into it, man. I'm gonna go hard today, man.
But you know what's cool is you just said it, right? Like you just came back from a vacation, as you should be able to. Now, I'm not saying take a vacation every week, but like, dude, you gotta be able to spend some time with your family, enjoy the things you're doing. That's the thing that like people don't understand about this business. Like they go, oh, I got to work for 5 years in a row and not take time off. No, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true at all. You know what I mean? So, but Omarh, man, like I said, I appreciate you. I'm excited to be able to watch you grow throughout this process. I'm excited to be able to get this call up on YouTube for people to watch. But not only that, like our brand new agents that get started, like, dude, they don't understand. Like people used to be like, oh, they're old leads. I'm like, dude, they're not old lead. They're gold leads. Like put the G in front of it because that's exactly what it is. You get it for a fraction of the cost. You get it for a bulk purchase. Like we're able to do so much with them. And so, Omarh, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, Harold, all your entire team. I look forward to, like I said, seeing you guys in person, giving you a hug, man. If there's anything you need, please let us know. We'll love to be able to return the favor. And man, we'll see you guys at the top. Have a blessed day, guys. Have a strong week. Be safe.